Well, hello, friend. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Ron. I'm with CamMastery.com, where you can go to learn how to make great videos with Camtasia. Today, we are looking at some questions. Every Sunday, or just about every Sunday, I like to get together with you and answer some questions that I get throughout the week. Those would be questions that I get from my Camtasia Mastery students or YouTube subscribers. So if you are interested in learning more about Camtasia, be sure to check out cammastery.com/store. But today, let's look at these few questions. The first thing we'll look at is how to set a default font. The second will be how to position an annotation in the same place every time. And then the third will be creating a curve with an arrow. So let's go on to that first one. A couple questions for you. This is from Barb, and she says, can I change the default font on my callouts, or do I have to change the font each time I use a callout? This is a great question. Of course, we don't want to have to change it every time. And if you are using Camtasia 2020, and I think Camtasia 2019 as well, you can certainly do this. I think they did this in Camtasia 2019. So let's head over to Camtasia 2019 and take a look. So Barb says, hey, I go over to my annotations, I go to my text, I bring this in, and every time I bring it in, it happens to be this Montserrat and regular, and Barb likes another font. And if you know me, I like the Lado font. So what I can do is I can click this drop down and I can find Lado. Of course, we can use themes as well. You'll remember that we could use themes. So if I wanted to use something like Cam Answers, then it says, oh yeah, Cam Answers, that font is Lado. So I'll show you how to do themes here in a moment. That's the longer way. But the quick way I like to do this is once I have it the way I want, let's say Lado is what I want, and I want the size to be bigger or smaller, whatever. I'll change it here to size 120. Maybe I want bold. I don't know. Just making some changes here. Sure. And I want a little bit more, maybe horizontal spacing. A little bit more, not a little less. There we go. 0.04. If this is what I want, then the easy way for me to make sure that this happens every time is, if we look up here in the upper right on callout, I have a plus sign. And this says Add Preset. All right, well, let me zoom back out and take a look at this. Let me click that Add Preset button and see what happens. So when I do that, now it says, oh, you have some user-based callouts. And here's that one that I just added. So it adds old ones. It has older ones here on the left, and the newest one here, I believe, is on the right. So if I grab this and drag it over, what do I have? Again, 120, it's bold, it's Lado, 0.04. Perfect, that's exactly what I wanted. Or if I wanted this one, which was size 256, also Lado, or I wanted this one. Yep, all of those. So that one looks very similar, and I guess I can, maybe get rid of that if I want to. But the trick here is, the easy way is to just click this plus sign here in the upper right and add that as a preset. Now I have that as a user preset. So if you come here and you're looking here and you just see basic, you might say, oh, I don't see, I thought Ron said I could add the preset. Yep, you can. It is under user. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to delete these old ones because I don't need these old ones. And the other thing that you might want to do, rather than having to go and choose user each time, is when I go to the callouts and I put my mouse cursor, here, let me zoom in for you. When I put my mouse cursor here in the upper left, I can see that there's a star and it says click to add to favorites. So I'm going to click that star, and now I see that star being yellow. So if I zoom back out, now what I can do here is go to favorites, and when I go to favorites, there it has a few tools that I use all the time. Here's that latest one that I just added. It has my font that I needed. So that is the way that I prefer to have a text box that I want to use all the time. I will go to the upper right, I will add it as a user preset, and then if I want, add it to favorites, because then it's always there in favorites. Now, I don't actually want that, so I can right click and delete it from favorites, and now it's not there anymore. And that's not a problem. If I do want to add one, it is probably this one. So I'll just go through the steps again, add it to presets, add it to favorites, and there it is. Now it's under favorites. So I said I would talk to you a little bit about themes. Let's look at that briefly. If I go to File, I can manage themes under my File menu. And then in here, I went to Cam Answers. So if I go back to Cam Answers, I can see here there is a font that I can choose, and I just chose Lado to be my font. If you wanted to add your own preset, you can go here and add your new theme. And I primarily use themes for colors, but I can also use it for fonts. So if Barb wants to add her theme, she can go in here and say she likes papyrus. Please don't use papyrus unless it's, I don't know. Yeah, it's not an easily read font. Maybe for stylizing, you might want to do that. But here for the accent is the one that I use. It's probably the more common of the colors. So if you're going to pick a color that you're going to use all the time, make that accent. Then you'll see your annotation will have that color, whatever that may be. And then these other colors can be, whatever you want them to be. You can choose a specific color. You can go in here. You can dial in any color you want. And you can even add a hex code, or if you have an RGB code, you can add those codes here at the bottom to get the exact color you want. So that's a quick way to add colors. And fonts, make sure when you're done that you click that save button in the lower right. Occasionally I've gone through here and I've clicked the X and then I'm like, oh, let me use that theme. And then I go up to my themes and I look and, oh, look, okay, it is there. Well, that's nice. I didn't think it was going to be there, to be honest. So surprise to me, it saved it. Good job, TechSmith, really. Your new theme. Okay, so it didn't save the colors. It didn't save the font, but it did save the name of the theme. Okay, so we're halfway there. Anyway, make sure you click save. That's always an important thing to make sure that you get the information you want to be saved on your whatever it is you're doing. So that is question number 1. How do you save it? The best way is set a user preset. The second question of the day is there a way to place my text in frame at the same place every time, other than just guessing it's in the correct place? So in this case, if I go back to Camtasia, Barb is asking the question. She says, look, if I put, this ABC here on the left, right here in the center, I always want it there in the left center, no matter what. What's the way to do that? So I have a couple of ways that I would do that. Number 1 is if it's in the same project, I would just copy and paste. So let's look at that. If I go over to Camtasia and I select that item, which one is that? That is here in track 5. I'll just right click and I will copy. And then I'll go further out here and can I right click the playhead? No, I have to right click on the timeline and I can paste. And then it is right there in the exact same spot. Now, there's another option that we have for this, and that is using the library. Now, to do this, you would add it to the library and make sure that you're adding it in terms of the canvas size so that it goes in the right place. And then you want to add it in a certain way as well. So we don't want to just drag it over to our canvas. So let me show you the right way to do it. I'll show you a way that I have done it incorrectly in the past. So here in Camtasia, what I would do is I said, if this is the thing I want it right here, or maybe let's make it, lower left just to be a little different. I'm going to right click this asset, and you might have multiple assets. Maybe you do want, all 5 of these to be in the same location. If that's the case, I would select all 5 like that, clicking and dragging. I would right click these and group them. And now that I have this group together, I would right click and I would add it to the library. So if we look here in the lower left, we can see the last option is add to library, which is also Control Shift A. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll say add to library. I will add it to the default library. Of course, I can choose one of my other libraries as well, but I'll say let's just put it in default. And I said the key here is using the canvas size, or at least that's what I prefer to do, is choose use canvas size, and I will click OK. So when I do that and I come back out over here, the right way to do this is if I want this, here at 51 seconds in, I can right click this and then say add to playhead, or add to timeline at playhead. And when I do, there it is. So there's group 1, it's added down here, and everything is exactly in the place I want it. Of course, I could do the same thing with just this one item. I can right click, add to library. Sure, it's called text, click OK. And then, further out here, right click, add to timeline at playhead, and then there it is in the lower left. Now, one of the things that I was doing incorrectly before was I was like, oh, here it is in my library. Let me just go ahead and drag it over. And as soon as I drag it over, it knows how large that item is, right? Even the group, if you try to grab the group and drag it over, you can place it anywhere you want. But the question is specifically, how do I get it in the exact same place? And again, the best way to do that is right click, add to the timeline at playhead, and boom, goes right in there in the exact place that you want it. So that is my recommendation for reusing elements either within the same project or within other projects. Like I said, if I'm in the same project, I typically just go over to whatever that item is and I copy and paste and drag that over. So I have one more question to go through. If you have a question you want me to answer live, now's a great time to put that in the chat and I will check on that when I'm done with question number 3. Let's jump to question number 3, which is, let me zoom in on that because it's a little bit hard for me to see. Okay, so he was looking at another video, and toward the bottom here, it talks about drawing a free-form line, preferably with an arrow, or at least a curved line. And then it says, do I need to copy it from an outside app? So my quick response to this person was to say, yes, probably the best way to do that, or the easiest way to do that, is to copy it from another app. I do have, I should say, a solution that uses it inside Camtasia. So let's look at what we can do in Camtasia, and then afterward I'll show you how to do it outside of Camtasia to get perhaps a more accurate or a more detailed curve that this particular person wanted to use. So here in Camtasia, we're going to add a curve. Now the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it a couple of ways. The first way is I'm going to go to my annotations. I'm going to go to my shapes. I'll go to, let's go to bold, sure. And let's say that he wanted to add, instead I'm going to go to basic. So I'm going to grab this, this oval. So he wants a curve. Now here is a filled oval, and it has this, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a slight purple outline to it. I'm going to make that an obnoxious color like green so we can see that a little bit easier. I'm going to make it nice and bright and glowing. There we go. And then for the fill color, you know what? I'm fine leaving that at white. I can leave that at white. So what I was telling this person to do was first create this with the border. So we want, let's say we want to use that obnoxious green color for the curve that he's looking for. To do that, all I'm going to do is crop the part of this image that I don't want. So if I zoom in, remember I can hold down the Alt key or the Option key on my Mac. And here on my PC with Alt held down, I can just crop this down. And now here I have a curve. And if I want, I can hold down Alt and even move it a little bit this way as well. Now, part of this curve, of course, we see this white in here. I don't want the white. I want to remove that. Well, we have a remove a color as an option. So if I jump back out and go to my visual effects on the left, I see there is a remove a color. So I'll just grab that and drag it over to this item. And it says, what color do you want to remove? Green? And I say, no, actually, I want to remove white. And so there is my curve. And again, I can manipulate this and make it, taller, shorter. I can, it can curve around to another side. I can hold down the Alt key and, just manipulate this if I need it to be less of a curve. If I need just a portion of the curve, this is the way I would do it. Is just think about it as being a portion of some kind of oval. All right, so that's how I would do it inside Camtasia. That's one way. Another way I would do it in Camtasia is I would use the sketch motion. So if I go back to annotations, choose sketch motion, then I can go and let's grab the circle. So here is the circle annotation. And if I play through that, I'll hit the space bar. If he wanted to animate this, as you can see, this just animated around, maybe we want it to basically stop there. Well, the same idea. I can use the Alt key and I can trim this down so that it's maybe just this right-hand part and maybe just this first part here. And of course, I can rotate it and put it in a different position if I need the curve to be this way or some other way. Whatever I need it to be. Now, I'll just deselect it. If I play through it, now that's it. It just draws this curve. And again, if I need it to be, longer, shorter, that's interesting. When I flip it around, the other side comes together. Okay. Oh, interesting. Now it has a break in it. Okay. Not sure, but you can manipulate this, change it to until you have the curve that you're looking for. Maybe you want it to come back a little bit. So there it is. And if I play through again, let's go to the beginning of that. So drag to the beginning, hit play, and then it drags and creates this curve. Okay, so that's a way to animate the curve. Another way to animate the curve, if I wanted to, I could come here and choose a transition is probably the way I would do it. And I would choose, there is a page roll. I think it's page roll. No, maybe not page roll. Page roll could work, but I think it would show part of the curve as well. What is the one I want to use? It is, well, I guess I could use a gradient wipe. So let me show you the gradient wipe. If I play through this, it goes, and you could see it draw from left to right there. Maybe, let me try fold. I'll just replace it with fold. Play that. Oh, go back to the beginning there. Play through the fold. Okay, yeah, I don't want fold. But you get the idea. There are different types that will, different transitions that will work for you. Let me just show you page roll. Like I said, I don't think I want to use this, but sometimes. Okay, yeah, page roll actually did work there. So that animated it from the other side. Of course, you can right-click the transition in Camtasia 2020 and reverse the transition. I don't know if you can see that. So reverse transition is an option when I right-click. And so now let's go back, and I will choose reverse. And now when I play through that, instead of going from right to left, okay, it does from left to right, and you can see that it did involve that, like kind of folding over on itself rather than just, it looks like a lasso there. That's interesting. Was not expecting that lasso kind of action there. Let me just undo that, and we'll go back to the other one. So the other option, yeah, it looks like it just animates it across. So there are a couple of ways for you to animate this and use it all within Camtasia. Part of the question that was asked was, using another program. So what I'm going to do is on my PC, I'm going to open up PowerPoint, and I'm going to go to a blank presentation. So let me just drag that in here. And here, my blank presentation, I want this slide to be a blank slide. So we'll say new slide, and we want the layout to be blank. And then what I want to do is insert, and he said he would prefer an arrow. So let's go to shapes. And then here, this might be a little hard to see. I'm going to zoom in. We have some different arrows and lines. So I would go to, this one looks like, it has a curve with an arrow on it. So I can click that and then drag that in here. So there is his arrow with a curve. Of course, we can choose the color and the thickness. For the shape outline, I want it to be a lot thicker. So I'm going to increase the weight to a 6-point font, for example. So there it is. I actually like that color. I would typically change the color to the color I want, but that looks pretty nice. And so what I'll do is I'll right-click this and I'll copy it, and then I will open up MS Paint. So open up the Paint program of your choice, and I'll use Control-V to paste, and there it is. So now I have this image by itself, and I can save this as, or just, do a save as, and let's go to videos. No, let's go to recording, live. Today's is here, and we're going to say arrow. So now I have the arrow image. I'll go ahead and close this. I'll close PowerPoint. I don't need to save that. Don't save. And I want to bring it in here. So I'll make sure I have my media bin selected there. I will find my folder, which is here, and I will grab my arrow and just drag it right in. So there it is. And then, just like we did before, we want visual effects, remove a color, and I would remove the white. Another easy way to do that, since that's already on this effect or this item here at the bottom, what I can do is I can right-click this item at the bottom and say copy effects, and then up here, or I can just right-click this and I can paste effects. And now I just removed that white again. And you can see there might be, I'm going to use the scroll wheel to zoom in a little bit. You can see there's a little bit of white on the outside of that. You can go in here and tweak this. I can increase the tolerance a little bit so you can see some of that going away. I wouldn't go too far. We'll try 16. I'll increase the softness. I'll do a defringe a little bit as well. Actually, I want to move defringe to the left so it gets a little darker. But anyway, you play with these. Find what works best for you. If you need to increase some option here, go ahead and do that. But I'm going to zoom back out, and there's my arrow. And again, if I wanted to animate that, I would grab a transition and drag it over, whichever one I want to use. What did we use last time? Page roll. Maybe I'll do that again. Let's page roll that guy, and let's play through that. Okay, yeah, so it went from one side to it went to the other side than I wanted, but that's okay. I can Control Z, I can select that item and rotate it. You know, assuming we want to point to the upper left there, I can play through that again. And then you can see it animates that way. If I need that to be longer, I can make that transition longer so that it takes a little longer to develop that. But that is how we handle arrows and animating arrows inside Camtasia. Again, my preference is to do everything I can in Camtasia, but PowerPoint allows you to create, you know, some special arrows. We could have tweaked it and, you know, moved the curve around a different way if we needed to. Totally up to you. But like I said, PowerPoint's a good way to do that. And my good friend Lon Naylor has a channel devoted to PowerPoint and video. So if you are curious about that, I will put a link to his channel in the description below. As I look, I don't see any live questions. That's fine. I'll catch you next time then. So next weekend is Thanksgiving weekend. I hope you get to spend some time with family if it's safe. Everybody be safe out there. I'm going to be visiting family, I'm going to be visiting family, but I'll be back here next week ready to answer your questions. So if you have a question, please leave it in the comments below or reply to me in one of the courses wherever you find, wherever you're signed up for Camtasia Mastery. And with that, I'm going to be on my way. Thanks, everybody. Have a great, happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you next week. So long.